All right, I'm ready. Um, right when I say that, the minute that I unmute, my dog and my cat will like start brawling behind me. So, Zoom excuses. Forgive my rude pets that I have. So I'm going to give you like a little bit of a canned presentation, and then I'm going to try and comment off the cuff because getting to hear you vulnerably share your stories, your recovery process, it's just it's thank you for having me here and letting me be a listener and observer, and now I'll talk to you, but I want you to interrupt me and ask questions, and hopefully at the end of this is more of a dialogue than just a canned presentation that I have prepared. So I'd like to share my screen if that's okay. I have some slides that I find some folks are visual, and so if that works, I will do that. Let's see. Can you see a PowerPoint presentation?
Yep.
Yes.
I've got a cheat sheet notes up on my screen. So essentially, I start out all my presentations with a little debrief of Jackson County, right? But we're all part of Jackson County, but we never necessarily like think of it in terms of a size. So, where we live, where you all have survived from is the size of Delaware, right? So about 70% of our residents live in Medford, Ashland, or Central Point. And so that's a big piece of it. The other 30% live in what we might call rural. Some of them are non-incorporated areas. And that's a little bit important as we talk a little bit later about our services. And as Michael indicated, after the fire, people that had lived here, spread out. And then some have had the have come back, and like Mary mentioned at the beginning, she searched the United States and decided to come back. So just a little perspective here on kind of where we're at. About 22% of our population is over the age of 65, and that's important because the scope of the work that I'll share with you tonight is centered around adults age 55 and over, and we have clients that are anywhere from age 60 and over. So I'll talk about both of those things. In general, Jackson County has a higher percentage of older adults that live with depression than Oregon as a whole. We're one of the harder counties in the area. Jackson, Josephine, and Klamath County are the three counties that our programs serve, and we have it rough. Our suicide rate is double that of the national average, and as you get into Klamath County, that gets even higher. So I'll start with just a little statistics, not to like depress everybody more than we already, are working through our everything. But no, I'm sorry, I have 3 screens, and so my computer is hard to navigate here. Okay. Josephine County, a little bit bigger than Rhode Island. Almost 16% of their population live in poverty. I just throw this out there for you. These are some of their statistics. Like I mentioned, their suicide rates are even higher than Jackson County. So as I talk, I just kind of will hope that you'll listen with, an open mind and an open heart, and you've all shared your hearts openly already. So I think that'll be an easy ask. But think about, different lenses that you look at life through, besides the one that we sit in on a daily basis. And I might be able to add a little toolkits into your tool belt today. And that's kind of my goal. So we provide, our organization provides services and volunteer opportunities. So think about what a need for services might look like, maybe in your own world, but maybe outside. You're all members of communities that are with us and communities that are lost. And so what does your community need? What do people in your community? Do they need transportation, counseling, companionship? Some of the things you've mentioned, housing, navigation, things like that. So think about the lens of somebody that might be searching for a new purpose, a renewed purpose, a fresh reason to get out of bed in the morning. Maybe somebody that's in a new stage of life and looking for a newfound meaning. Think about the person that that maybe need somebody to talk to. Maybe they don't have this great, amazing support that this Zoom meeting is providing, but you know that they need somebody to talk to. So we'll address all of those things and go through some of our services. Essentially, we're a nonprofit organization. We've been around since 1975. Our mission is to provide meaningful services and volunteer opportunities for adults 55 and over to enrich the lives of everybody in our community. And we are a little nonprofit that lives here locally. There's really two wheels that turn our organization. One is our volunteer piece, and the other is our direct services piece. And we like those don't move independently. They only move simultaneously. The goals of those two things working together are to create a healthier future for everybody, to reduce isolation and loneliness, and to increase older adult engagement across our community and connectivity to a greater community. And we achieved this. This is kind of our structure. So we are, since 1975, we have held a federal grant through a program called AmeriCorps Seniors. And so we receive a large portion of a federal funding grant to operate programs for older adults in our area. And we do that through two major arms. One arm is called RSVP, and the other arm is called the Foster Grandparent Program. So we'll talk about both of those pieces. A little history on AmeriCorps Seniors. I won't bore you with this too much, but I mentioned we've been around since 75. The programs existed across the nation since the 60s. They operate AmeriCorps Seniors programs in all 50 states, the District of Columbia, Puerto Rico. There's three major components of the program, and we hold two of those here locally. So Jackson, Josephine, and Klamath County are our service areas for foster grandparents and RSVP. We are built on a backbone of direct service led by volunteers. And we have some signature programs. This is what we call, we're going to talk tonight about what we do as a nonprofit organization in-house versus what we do when we partner out with the community. So when Carolina mentions, oh, we need volunteers for a community event in Phoenix, we have an opportunity to collaborate and partner with other community partners. And then we have these kind of direct in-house programs that we run. And the in-house programs are our lifeblood, they're our heart and soul. They're what we do every day on the daily. And then I'll talk to you a little bit about the other community priorities as well. We have three major programs and one little side gig. They're called Age-Wise Age Well, the Call a Ride program, and our SHIBA program, Senior Health Insurance Benefits Assistance. And I'll go into details on each of those now. Our Age-Wise Age Well program is a senior peer counseling program. The program seeks to promote healthy aging and to help clients cope with transitions that are related to growing older. Somebody who might be experiencing a difficulty in some aspect of their life. This could be a physical change in ability or an emotional change, maybe a cognitive capacity, perhaps an early diagnosis of dementia. Maybe there's stress related to caring for a spouse or a family member that's experiencing aging. I mentioned earlier, our suicide rates in Jackson County are really high, and there's a high percentage of older adults living with depression. But our Age-Wise Age Well program is a way to provide companionship and support services within a peer group for people. So on the screen here, you'll see like our common kind of client demographic, and then also what a volunteer in our program might look like. And our volunteers are there to really help their fellow peers sort through problems and find useful solutions. I give an example of someday, you're blessed enough that you have kiddos that love you, children that love you, and as you age, they eventually take away your driver's license. potentially you lose the chance of feeling independent, and that transition of being able to drive and go anywhere you want to now, you've lost your driver's license and you don't have that independent freedom. That can be a huge shock to somebody. That's a big transition. That's the perfect kind of thing that an age-wise, age-well volunteer peer counselor would help somebody with. Working through that. It could be a short-term solution, 4 to 6 weeks, 4 to 6 visits. It can be a long-term solution. We have clients that have been meeting with their peer counselor for 4 to 6 years. So we have a lot of longevity in our program and try and meet people where they are. I mentioned that, we're a volunteer program. So all of the work that we do, all of the statistics that you see on this screen are achieved because of what we have right now, 17 volunteers. They're all over age 55. They're all AmeriCorps seniors volunteers in Jackson County. And in an average year, they serve about 66 other older adult clients going through transitions. They provide almost 900 hours of direct service every year, and about 2,000 hours a year total. They do a lot of supervision meetings and a lot of peer collaboration to make sure that they're meeting their peers' needs everywhere that they are. Volunteers will visit via phone. Since the pandemic and the wildfires, we do Zoom meetings. We'll do in-person meetings, meeting people where they're at, so we can accommodate folks that might be homebound or might not have transportation. Our peer counselors will meet somebody wherever they are. I mentioned sometimes they meet just a couple of sessions, 4 to 6, and other times it goes on for a lot longer. As long as the services are needed, the program's flexible and confidential, and everything that I'll talk about today is free. So at no cost to the older adults. We have immediate openings for clients, for people that would like a peer counselor, would like companionship. And then, of course, we are always recruiting new volunteers. We have a volunteer training probably once a quarter. It's a big commitment and requires a good chunk of time and dedication. But that means that if you get a peer support counselor, that they're very dedicated to making an impact, making change and helping. This is a quote from an age-wise, age-well volunteer. Our volunteers helped lower this person's anxiety. They like their counselor's commitment to helping and the way that they try and help the person do their part in feeling better. This person still has difficult times, but they're now capable of being more focused and more productive. And they're hopeful that the feelings that they've gained from the program will actually end up bringing them closer to their children and the family. Oftentimes, the folks that we work with are estranged from their family for one reason or another. So it's great that we're able to provide them with confidence and skills to feel comfortable reaching back out at some point in time. Another program that we run is called the SHIBA program. And I say the acronym a lot because it's familiar to some folks. We help almost 2,000 or 3,000 people a year with this program. And so you all know more than anybody how difficult it can be to navigate governmental systems. And it can be overwhelming. You're inundated with material. You don't know what to believe, what's right, what's wrong, what's a scam, things change, regulations and rules change all the time with the government. So our volunteer counselors are trained from Medicare to help provide navigation through what we call the Medicare maze. They're advocates that will help you get the assistance that somebody might need to work through the complex system. They help people understand prescription drugs. All of a sudden, maybe a person has a new medical diagnosis and their prescriptions change dramatically. Their costs can skyrocket if they're not on the right Medicare plan. So our counselors can help you make the right decision for what your needs are. people that have complex billing situations, going through heavy medical stuff, the bills can just escalate and get out of control. But our dedicated volunteers will help volunteers navigate through that. They help people gain access to plans, make sure that they understand them. So in short, we like to say Sheba will help you with the A, B, C's, D's, and F's that are all the letters of the Medicare alphabet. And open enrollment just wrapped up. If you were on Medicare, it was your opportunity to change plans, and that just wrapped up. So again, on the screen, kind of a volunteer versus a client profile. They're really similar. Almost all of our volunteers can also be a client at any point in time, and they do switch back and forth sometimes. We have 8 volunteers in this program, and they dedicate almost during open enrollment, many hours, but throughout the year, it's about 2,000 hours a year of service. And in any given calendar year, we help 800, last year it was 835. That number was really low during COVID. But we will help people in home, in Zoom, and on the phone, and in person in our offices as well. Another program, again, remember we have 2 wheels that turn us: volunteers providing service. This program is called our Call a Ride program. Transportation is a huge barrier for people as they age. In our Call a Ride program, we use volunteer drivers to provide older adults transportation to medical appointments. And this ultimately helps people live independently much longer. As people can still safely get to their doctor's appointment, they don't have to go into like an assisted living type facility as soon. So this extends the length that somebody can live independently. And I don't think very many of us have dreams and aspirations of being put into an institution or a home or a care facility. So living independently is really a key factor for most older adults in Southern Oregon. I gave you some statistics earlier about how many people live rurally. If you live rurally, you respect that lifestyle and you love that lifestyle, and that independence is probably one of the reasons that you pick to live out or in a rural circumstance. Our volunteer drivers will meet people out there. I have a person that drives all the way up Dead Indian, picks up a blind man, brings him down to the bus stop. He's so independent that he won't let her just drive him all the way to his doctor's appointment in Medford. But she goes up the hill, picks him up, drops him off at his, drops the blind man off at his bus stop, and then he hops on the bus, rides the bus into Asante for his radiology that he gets once a week, and then gets back on the bus, goes back, and that's when she picks him up and she takes him back up the hill. So we do the best we can to accommodate people's will to live the way that they've always lived and respect their independence. We'll do everything that we can. We're a last resort program, so you don't qualify for our services if you qualify for other things like Valley Lift or TransLink. Some of the services that are provided for Medicaid patients, we don't provide transportation for that. We are a gap service for people that don't have that other option. And again, door to door, totally free. Our volunteers, this is my favorite part about the program, is that our volunteers develop these meaningful friendships with their clients, and it becomes a time of socialization and interaction in the car on the way to the medical appointments. And for some folks, the only person that they see all day long is their Call a Ride driver, and really makes a difference in their lives. So in that program, currently we have about 44 volunteers. We always could use more drivers. We have this slide is old. It says we have 120 clients. Since the timeline of the fire, we eliminated our wait list and we onboarded every single person that was on our wait list. And we've been able to accommodate 220 people. Again, right around 2,000 hours of service, and my volunteers have driven around the world 2 times this year to get folks to their medical needs. There's a quote on this screen from one of our clients who's just so grateful that they don't have to worry about transportation anymore. It's made their life better. They think our drivers are amazing, friendly, easy to talk to, and they really enjoy the friendship of sharing authors, recipes, gardening tips. They share grandchildren stories in the car. And so that's a really positive quote that we have. Getting in touch with our services, we want that to be really easy, but I say that, and we got like 3 different phone numbers. So I will share all of this information with Cass and the other zone captains so that they have it at their fingertips, and you can find us. Our Age-Wise Age Well program, our Sheba program, and our Caller Aid program, again, 100% free services. So I'll jump now to, what we do in the other. Well, this is our volunteer profile. So you got to be 55 and over to be an AmeriCorps Seniors volunteer. That's, again, we are a little bit of funded by the government. So that's a piece of our programming. We provide mileage reimbursement, recognition. We're part of a national service entity. We provide insurance, a social network, and then we also provide connection to resources. Tomorrow, we're hosting a lunch and learn for all of our signature program volunteers, and Adult Protective Services will come and speak about ways to identify signs of abuse. So we're always educating. We believe in continuing education and lifelong learning, and we'll provide all kinds of opportunities for our volunteers and our clients, both service recipients or service givers, to engage in those opportunities. And then our other community priorities, this is our chance to partner with other agencies and entities. So we work with municipalities and cities and nonprofit organizations to help place volunteers. So we like to think of ourselves as a matchmaker. A volunteer might, an older adult or a newly retired person or somebody that just relocated here might call our organization, and we would then partner them up with what their passion is and help them connect with other volunteer opportunities. So this is an example. I believe that a couple of weeks ago, you had Teresa McCormick Center speak to you, Ashley Hughes, and Teresa McCormick is one of our partners. So we will, if a volunteer comes to us and they say, "Ooh, I want to work in a food pantry," we'll partner them up with TMAC. And Carolina, I'd be excited to talk to you about what that partnership could look like for your needs, and the needs of the community there in Phoenix and Talent too, if there's ways that you could collaborate.
Thank you, Carrie. I appreciate that.
So those are some of our other partners. We really do have a focus in supporting Rogue Retreat is one of our newer partners since the wildfires. Rogue Retreat, I think we have about 32 volunteers now that we support, and they support Rogue Retreat. So it's a triple prong kind of a approach there. It takes the organization, us, and the volunteer, and it feels really good to be a part of national service. We directly report out to Congress about what's impacting our community and what our community is doing to move the needle. So having that direct line with our representatives through AmeriCorps Seniors is a great way for us to tell stories about Jackson County. And so again, I'm real grateful to be here tonight. We have an online site that we launched during the pandemic. This is a place where you can learn about resources and COVID-19 and technology trainings. We teach people how to Zoom. You are all great Zoomers, so that's great. We were very, very busy early on in the pandemic getting older adults online and teaching them how to use services. So we're proud of that work. Next, I'm going to try and play a video for you that sums up another arm of our program called the Foster Grandparent Program. And this video does a much better job, and it gives me a chance, a break from my voice. So give me just a moment to tee that up. I'm going to stop my screen share for just a minute and get it teed up, and then I'm going to come back on the screen. While I'm doing that, does anybody have any questions about the services or the volunteer opportunities that I breezed through?
Yeah, for the caller ride, is it only for medical appointments, or could they help like seniors get to food pantries or?
That's a really good question. For many, many years, we partner with RVTD for a big piece of our funding. And both entities were under the understanding that we were only allowed to provide medical transportation. So we have recruited all of our volunteers under the premise that they're going to be taking people to their medical appointments, understanding what their need is, getting them, fulfilling their need. We just learned recently that there's now flexibility that we could expand into food services. So we are planning a pilot launch with our existing volunteers that are willing to step into that food provision, food insecurity, grocery store, things like that. So more to come on that. Right now, if you called, the answer would be medical only, but hoping to launch that pilot in the 2023.
I'm glad to hear that. I know a senior who is legally blind and just needs help getting to the grocery store. He doesn't need to go to a food pantry, but he has been ordering grocery store delivery, and he said that's a little expensive. And so he asked me about looking for someone who could give him rides to the grocery store. So.
It is super expensive, and so many older adults are desperate and they go that route. And so I really hope that it's an area that we can work on. If it's not an area that ends up being a good fit directly for us, I've been in contact with a couple of other organizations to help share the need. Hearts with a Mission is talking about launching a senior program, particularly with grocery, social, and church-related transportation. So this need is going to get answered soon. It's a gap in our community, and it's going to get answered soon.
I see a few hands up, Michael and Carolina.
I was wondering if you're aware of, are you listed in, and do you take referrals from Unite Us, a bit of software?
I am aware of Unite Us. We are not currently on the platform. The best way to reach us is by phone. We have a little bit of a social media presence on Facebook, but we are a tiny team. So all that services is coordinated, again, because of our volunteers, but we currently have 3 staff that coordinate those programs and the one I'm about to mention. So phone is a good one.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Kathy,
So glad you're here. Sorry.
No, you're fine. Would you mind putting a good phone number in the chat there for people?
Yes, absolutely. Why don't I at the end, because this sounds silly, but I have 3 screens, which is weird, 2 computer screens and a laptop, and I don't know where to move my mouse because I have to move it in like this circular thing.
That's fine, no problem.
Let me plug them in at the tail end. Does that sound okay?
Sure, yeah, and then I see Carolina has her hand up as well.
Okay, I just wanted your contact information, Cassie.
Yes, I'll get it to you in the chat when I'm done screen sharing, and make sure that I get it all out to the zone captain team.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see here. Now comes the hard part. I'm going to re-screen share. And then I'm going to share my sound. I'm going to wiggle my mouse over there. And I'm going to try and play this video for you that sums up a program, the next kind of arm of our program called the Foster Grandparent Program. I'll preface it just a little bit. This program must be age 55 and over. You do have to income qualify, meaning you can't be living on too high of an income. This is for older adults that live on a fixed or limited income. This program provides a non-taxable, non-declarable stipend for the volunteer work. So unlike all the other programs where they're just volunteering to volunteer, this program comes with a financial incentive. The goal of this program is to remove barriers for older adults to be able to volunteer, because volunteering can be expensive. It can add up to dress appropriately and get to your site and feel safe and confident and have the full belly to be able to do that. So this program reduces all those barriers and provides transportation and income reimbursement. So keep that in mind as you listen to this, but these volunteers do this work. This is the work of their heart too. So let me hit play and see if the sound is not good. Somebody please interrupt me, okay?
The foster grandparent program the wording is a little misleading because we don't foster children in our home, but what we do is we go to the schools and we assist with children that need a little extra help.
There's flexible hours. You can choose your days and hours just about. You want to work in the library, you want to work in the classroom, you know, there's lots of things you can do.
I don't have the paperwork to do that you have as a teacher. And while I was a teacher, I had foster grandparents in my room, and so I got to know them. And I knew that that's what I wanted to do when I retired.
Any place I can be to help one of the children, I'm there. I read to them, I help them do their math. I feel more at ease when I'm at school than when I'm at home. There's just something about being around people that you love and that they love you. And it makes my day.
You got all the easy work, you know, because you just sit there and you just have fun with them and teach them the ABC songs, singing the ABC songs and reading to them and, you know, teaching them the colors.
They're a handful some days, but all of them are great. All of them are different. Working with them is so wonderful. It's very, very rewarding.
I've had like subs come in and the kids are scared of them, but when they see Grandma at her table, they're fine because they see me every day.
I was working with a young man the other day, or I call him young man. I think they're 8 or 9, you know, but he's just adorable. And he gets real distracted in class. And so he stayed in for a brief bit to finish his work before he went to recess. And what was so rewarding to me is I was working with him on a math problem, and I was trying to show him different ways to look at it. And I was trying to find what way can he see? What way is his understanding? And all of a sudden the lights went on and he goes, oh, I get it. And I'm going, oh my goodness, yay. So that's very rewarding to me to see a child understand.
If you have the time and the energy to do this, you will benefit more than you give. Surprisingly enough, you'll get a lot out of this. It's being with kids, it's like having instant family. And you know, that word is used a lot, but in this case, they are part of my family.
They require so little. You just give them a little bit of attention. And that's all some of them need, is just that little show of kindness and warmness.
It just gives you something to look forward to, and I feel like I'm doing something important.
Aside from working with the students, we get to have our luncheons, we get to have our meetings, and every time we have a meeting, we have trainings, extremely valuable trainings. Learning, and it's mentally stimulating. It keeps us young.
Okay. Volunteers do such a wonderful job sharing about the program. As I'm watching that, I'm reminded that Catherine, who you saw at the very tail end of that, Catherine came to us as a Paradise Fire survivor. She lost everything in Paradise and relocated with her children in Eagle Point, and now she serves out at Eagle Rock Elementary. She was a foster grandparent in Paradise at the elementary school, and it quickly found our program when she relocated. And boy, she has found a new stride. She has made all kinds of friends and finds so much meaning out of going to Eagle Rock Elementary. As you saw there, she was kind of working in a library, but she works full-time in a second grade class, not full-time. She volunteers about 20 hours a week in a second grade classroom. We're able to supplement her income about $500 a month and able to allow her to continue to rebuild her life after Paradise. We have foster grandparents that we have 4 survivors in our program currently from Almeda. 2 of them gave me permission to talk about their stories a little bit. Grandma Linda and Grandma Beth both lost their homes, and Grandma Linda had to relocate out to Shady Cove for a long time. And it didn't take her long for her to say, I want to work at Shady Cove Elementary. So we got her placed out there at Shady Cove. And now she's living back in Phoenix, thankfully. And she's serving at Phoenix Elementary. But she couldn't abandon the kids that she made relationships with at Shady Cove. So she does both. So she's serving, kids at Shady Cove and kids at Phoenix Tail Elementary School. And then Grandma Beth had a similar story. Grandma Beth couldn't find any housing here. She found a friend at church that had an extra room in their trailer in Grants Pass. So she lived in Grants Pass for a long time and just recently was able to relocate to Ashland. And she is also serving back at Phoenix Elementary School to watch it come full circle and see the way that the kids, the teachers, and the volunteers benefit from being back in the classroom and being all together is just so cool. So let's see here. I guess I'll screen share the tail end of my presentation here again.
Did you have your hand up, Carolina? I'm sorry.
I lowered it. Thank you.
Okay.
You feel free to interrupt me at any time, but I'll just talk and talk and talk. The foster grandparent program is different than the other programs I talked about at the beginning because you get to work with kiddos. We do serve Jackson, Josephine, and Klamath County. And why? Why do we do this work? Why does the government give us tax-free money to give back to older adults to do this work? I mentioned volunteering can be expensive, but here's why. When you look at these statistics, these are the number of children that are meeting grade level expectations. In Jackson County, only 42% of children are meeting third grade expectations in math. Excuse me, 40% in math, 41% in reading. That number is shocking. The way that we as a country predict the number of prison beds that we are going to need in the future is by third grade reading levels. People don't meet third grade reading levels, we build more prison beds. So the correlation is crazy. These statistics are shocking. In Klamath County, only 38% of kiddos are reading where they should be at third grade. So our volunteers come in and they get meaning, they get a volunteer as incentive, financial incentive, but they change the lives of those kiddos that they're working with. They become a positive adult role model. They act as a grandma or grandparent figure, and they help children with academics, social emotional learning, and they're able to provide one-on-one support where a teacher has 30 kids and 10 or 20 of them might be, have learning disabilities or be struggling at home or have parents with addiction. They have huge barriers that they're facing, but our foster grandparents are able to give them one-on-one attention. And it doesn't take a teacher or a librarian or somebody to make that difference. It takes a non-judgmental, good listener that's willing to show up and be reliable and consistent. You got to be 55 and over. You got to commit to 5 hours a week. You do have to hit our income thresholds, but we are able to provide non-taxable, non-declarable. And I reiterate that again. If you're receiving SNAP benefits, if you're receiving Social Security, if you're receiving HUD, this program, the income that you receive from it will not impact any of those levels. So you're able to maintain the benefits that you receive.
Showing up is 85% of it. Showing up.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely.
I have a question for you, Cassie, about the income level. What defines low income? Is that 60% AMI, 80% AMI?
It's, oh gosh, 200% of the federal poverty level. I'm not sure what AMI is. I'm sorry.
Area median income.
Oh, how do I don't know the answer to that. I know 200% of the federal poverty level.
Okay.
I have the dollar amount, so I can zip to those at the tail end of the presentation as well.
It's coming.
I'll tell you this. We can deduct a lot of things to help somebody get to that income threshold. Any medical expenses, Medicare premiums, dental costs, the cost of contact lenses, anything medical related, we can deduct out and get folks down into the threshold. So there's that. We provide free physicals to volunteers, mileage reimbursements, meals. Meals is one of my favorite parts of the program. We mentioned earlier food insecurity and what a challenge that can be. if you're a volunteer in our program and you're stationed at a site that provides meals, most of the time, 80% of the time, the site will give you a free meal as long as you eat with the kids. So Grandma Beth and Grandma Linda sit in the cafeteria at Phoenix Elementary School and they eat with those kiddos, and they build totally different relationships than you build in the classroom. They talk about pets, and they talk about bully brothers, and they talk about their crazy grandma, and they learn different things than they learn in the classroom setting. So mealtime is like a really fun time for our volunteers. They get a nice hot meal, they get to sit with kids, and they get to laugh for their lunch period. So love that. Paid time off, all the things. Okay. This is a picture of our volunteers. We have 51 volunteers at 34 sites. 21-22, we were able to provide almost $140,000 back into the pocketbooks of older adults. So it's multifaceted, right? So it changes the lives of the volunteer, the kiddos, and the school staff. And our program costs nothing to schools to engage with us. So Phoenix has 2 right now. Talent always had 4 volunteers pre-pandemic, pre-fire. We're rebuilding there still. So there is room. They want volunteers. We just don't have any on our roster that are residing there right now. So there's certainly room and a place where a volunteer could serve if somebody's interested. I mentioned our outcomes. These are the outcomes for kiddos and for older adults: school readiness, academic engagement, social emotional learning. And then you can see the outcomes on the screen there that the older adults get. And you heard them talk all about what they get out of the program. So much. So I've talked forever. I'm going to breeze through these last ones. The long and short of volunteerism is people that volunteer report feeling less socially isolated. They have better long-term health outcomes, and they're less depressed. And there's statistics to prove that. We survey our volunteers locally, and we hear it again and again and again of how important our programs become in their lives because the clients they serve and the work that they get to do. So I mentioned at the very beginning, look at this presentation tonight through all different kinds of lenses, and you all did that because you asked good questions. But these are some of my favorite quotes. So the lens that we choose transforms the way we look at things. And the world you see is created by what you focus on, and it's never too late to adjust your lens. And then I will throw all of these contact numbers into the chat, and I'll answer any other questions that you might have. And I'll yell at my dog, who has not stopped playing with her tennis ball, if you can hear her in the background.
Well, I think some people on here have questions about how to get screened and be involved in the foster grandparent program.
Yes. So I'm not going to lie. You work with kiddos, we are going to put you through the ringer before we put you in there as a role model working with kiddos. We have multiple layers of background checks that we run, a national sex offender check, an FBI fingerprint check, and a state of Oregon name-based check. We require, it's a commitment, and I don't like to candy coat this. We require 20 hours of pre-service training. We provide you with all that training. You'll do it with other people that want to be a volunteer and want to make a difference, but it does take work to get into the program. It does take a commitment. You call me, you call my teammate Kayla, we have a one-on-one kind of conversation with you. We'll tell you a lot about what you just learned. And then we go from there. We start the background check process. We walk you through it, handhold you 100% of the way. We pay for everything. We get to know you over those 20 hours of pre-service training. And that's how we really match make you with the right school and the right teacher and the right age group, the right schedule. All of those things are flexible. We like to call it a magical matchmaking. Not every match is perfect right away, but when the match is perfect, it's fabulous. And Cass knows a retired grandma Grandma Becky did our program for 14 years, and she lived in a park in Talent.
Still does.
Still does. So, yeah, she could attest to it. But yeah, we can connect with you. Anybody that's interested.
Carolina's got her hand up.
My son had a foster grandparent at Talent Elementary.
Okay.
And because I work in the grocery business, Grandma Annie would come in and shop, and oh my God, she was fabulous. We would talk and connect, and Jordan adored her. And it was an amazing community connection. And she was from Australia and met a World War II veteran American pilot and came to America. So I got to know her story. And when he died, I helped her and was her community member and made sure that she ate an apricot before she left the store because she wouldn't eat because her husband died. Anyway, it was a fabulous program. She was an amazing person. Volunteering does connect you with your community. It is an amazing thing.
Thank you for sharing that. I love hearing my foster grandparents tell me what happens when they see a kid in the grocery store, whether it's a kid that they're currently serving in the class, or sometimes it's like an 18-year-old kid. The kid recognizes grandma. Grandma doesn't remember them necessarily, right? But she helped them in kindergarten, and now they're 18, and they run up to her, and they always give the biggest hugs. And I love hearing those stories of they get to reunite at the grocery store.
Any other questions for Cassie?
I'm so glad you're here. I wish I'd known what I know now this afternoon. Let me get this down here. I wish I had known about you this afternoon. I would have used it, the information. So I'm so glad you're here, because my zone area is seniors. So there's going to be a lot of richness in the resources now I have for them. So thank you.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah, the people that know about us and use us, but I'm surprised at how many people don't know about us, even though we've been providing these services since 75.
Yeah.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you for letting me observe the beginning of your meeting and talking with you. Thank you.
It's been great to have you. Does anybody have any other questions? Does Carolina have another question, or is she waving at us?
I've forgotten to lower her hand.
Okay, there we go. No more questions.
Did I miss it? Cassie, were you able to put those phone numbers in the chat, or are you working on that?
Oh gosh, I got to talking again. It's hard to navigate 3 screens when I'm talking. Let me do it right now.
Thank you.
Is that kind of like a Meals on Wheels program?
Is there a Meals on Wheels program? Is that the question?
Yeah, is it related to the Meals on Wheels?
Good question. We partner with Food and Friends, which is what our Meals on Wheels is called locally. They are an external partner where we might place an RSVP volunteer. So that's not related to the foster grandparent program. It's not the income volunteer program, but certainly if a volunteer came to us and said, oh, well, I would like to help older adults with food, we would look at all of our different pantries that we partner with and opportunities and kind of match make them. And yes, Food and Friends is an amazing organization, and we do work really closely with John Pfefferly, who's their volunteer coordinator. Not all Food and Friends volunteers are also in our program. You don't have to be in our program to be a Food and Friends volunteers, but some volunteers in Food and Friends are also, they want to be a part of our national service program that is RSVP. Does that make sense?
Kind of.
Yeah. That part's a little, that's the hardest part of the program to explain. So if you're not in one of our signature programs, Caller Ride, Sheba, Age Wise, Age Well, or the foster grandparent program, then you work out in the community, but you're part of our national service umbrella. I mean, with that, you get benefits like volunteer insurance and recognition, and so it's a partnership that we have with like Food and Friends.
Oh, wow.
What does the insurance cover?
I'm not supposed to say that it's kind of like workman's comp for a volunteer, but
Okay.
it covers automobile liability and insurance should you be injured while you're volunteering.
Very good. Sorry, Joseph.
No, that was my question too.
That was a helpful explanation. Thank you.
For some reason, I'm having a hard time copying and pasting my phone number stuff in here. So maybe I should stop talking for just 1 minute and get that done so that you all can write it. Write it if you need it.
Sure, yeah.
You know what will help me? Just shutting my camera for a minute. 1 moment.
Yeah, go ahead.
There we go.
Who's your friend, Jose? Oh no, was it attacked by a dog?
He won't leave me alone. He keeps coming back. And if I don't pick it up, I keep getting a cold nose on my hand. This guy just won't leave me alone. Look, I'll unblur and show you. He's right, like he's attentive right now.
Guys, I'm beat and I'm gonna go take a bath and go to bed. This was amazing. It was great to see you guys all. Thank you.
Thank you, Carolina.
All of you all.
Take care. Merry
Thank you.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
All right, I was able to place those in there. So again, thanks so much for having me.
Oh,
Thank
bet.
you.
Thank
Great to-
you.
Great to talk with you.
And we will all save the chat.
Yeah,
We
save
will.
the chat.
I think that background is a great idea. Yeah, thanks so much, Cassie. And we're gonna go on and do some more announcements. Looking forward to hopefully coordinating some more with you in the future.
That sounds
Absolutely.
great. All right, I'm going to check out. Thank you so much. Good night.
Thank you, Cassie.
Bye.
I'm
Thank
gonna
you.
stop recording now, I guess.